Jesus Christ.
And it was just so funny because he kept going with like these number things. Like it was like the 9-story building and there was 11 people in there, 9/11. And he kept like ending it with 9/11, thinking that everyone would be like, "Oh my god!" And the entire story.
You fucking cracked the code.
It was like, okay, where are you getting at? Like, what is the point?
There
of
needs
this?
to be a
What
conclusion.
Exactly.
Like it sounds like the conclusion was 9/11.
9/11.
Just 9/11.
Hands in the air. 9/11.
It's like nothing left to go.
I want to pay for my fucking hot chocolate.
And then you bought. Wait, when you bought it, did it come up to?
It was 9/11. So let me set the scene. Last night, Steph's hyping up this McFlurry at McDonald's. He says that if you ask for an apple pie and they blend that up in the McFlurry...
I've heard that before, actually.
Apparently it's amazing.
I could imagine.
And he was like, so he was talking about how he jammed 2 apple pies in there, and he's like, sometimes at nighttime, because they're not busy, they'll blend it up for you in there, and it's the best McFlurry you could ever imagine. I was like, oh my god, I'm going right to McDonald's. I'm getting a McFlurry with an apple pie in it.
Just kick open the door. Yeah. Apple pie, McFlurry, now!
So pissed off. Get there, they're like, no, we're cleaning our ice cream machine. I'm like, yeah, sure you are. Whatever. Leave. I'm like, I need something chocolate now or something because now I'm just thinking of McFlurry.
This has to happen.
Now I have to go get something.
Somebody's going to die if I don't get this, so I
can't just drive home now. No, that's So I go to 7-Eleven. There's this dude standing there. I grab myself a Reese like a Reese cup thing, and a hot chocolate. So double the chocolate. I needed something. It was so good. I needed it. There's some dude standing there. There's one cashier, and this guy's holding him up at the end of the counter, talking about 9/11 conspiracies for 7 minutes straight.
That's fucking awesome.
As you do right after a national
And
tragedy.
the only place you can do something like that is Reddit or fucking 7-Eleven.
That is the place for political
this
discussion.
guy's listening to you. It's like an East Indian dude. He's like, so 9/11. And I forget there's a name for these people that are like, they can figure numbers together to like make the conspiracy.
I know the name.
What is it?
Numerologist.
Morons.
Yeah, morons.
Yeah, that's
I think he's trying to think like numerologist sort of deal, but like a different name for it.
This guy was like literally going, so it's the 9th month, September 11th, the 9th month, 11th day, 9 plus 1 plus 1, it's 11. 9/11 in the morning that day, they played the national anthem. And he kind of just looks at him like he's expecting some huge response, like, what? The guy's just like East Indian, staring at him like, okay, like, where are you going with this? You know, he just like, and he kept going with this nonsense. And I'm sitting there trying to pay, like, standing at the counter, being like, okay, are you almost done your fucking conversation?
Yeah.
Like,
Jesus Christ.
and it was just so funny because he kept going with like these number things. Like, it was like the 9-story building, and there was 11 people in there, 9/11. And he kept like ending it with 9/11, thinking that everyone would be like, "Oh my god!" And the entire story.
You fucking cracked the code.
It was like, okay, where are you getting at? Like, what is the point?
There
of
needs
this?
to be a
What are you-
conclusion.
Exactly. Like
It sounds like the conclusion was 9/11.
9/11.
9/11. Just
Hands in the air. 9/11.
It's like nothing left to go.
I want to pay for my fucking hot chocolate.
And then you bought. Wait, when you bought it, did it come up to?
It was
9/11. Jesus Christ.
9/11. If you take 8 and you add 2 and then you minus 1 and then you add 3, 9/11.
That's right.
Okay.
Where'd you get those other numbers from?
That doesn't matter.
That's not.
It doesn't matter. Okay, it all adds up to 9/11.
9/11 is where it.
Doesn't matter that you can do this with any numbers.
Yeah, basically.
It was a
Don't think
7-minute
about it.
straight thing. Like, he did this for 7 straight minutes, and I was standing there, and this guy would not just walk away from him, and I was just blown away by 1, that this guy kept going, and 2, that this guy would actually give him the time.
Of like this, you have a legitimate fucking
like,
argument.
Are you interested in this or what? It was ridiculous.
What time was this?
This was at 2 in the morning.
That's
at
why,
7-Eleven.
because he has nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
He flips the hot dogs or he listens to 9/11
Yeah,
conspiracy.
it's that. Yeah, exactly.
That's
Right?
all he's got
Made
to
his
do.
shift go by probably a little faster.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was like, "Are you purchasing anything?" Like, the guy had nothing in his hand. I was like, "Are you literally just walking in so you could spew this to this guy?" Like, it was ridiculous. I don't know. And now this morning, like, I told Kayla this story, and all morning we were just like, So there's 9 dishes in here. And if you go to it at 4, 9/11. It's fucking there. We were doing it all morning.
That's fucking awesome. I like
so
it.
That kind of made my night.
That's fucking sweet, man. I probably would have just sat there listening to him a little bit longer to see exactly where
7 minutes was enough.
Yeah.
Trust me. It was enough.
Yesterday, okay, so there was a massive national tragedy yesterday, and
Yeah.
I
2 days
spent
ago, wasn't it? Was it yesterday?
Yeah,
No,
it was technically 2 days ago because it started.
yeah.
The news hit yesterday morning.
Right.
So I spent a good hour and a half arguing with some fucking guy I don't even know, and he was trying to tell me that it was like MK
9/11?
Ultra 9/11. He was adding up all these numbers. So he was trying to tell me that it was like MK Ultra government planning to take away the guns, and like, okay, the guns part I could see, but like, where are you getting all this other information? So we ended up having this long conversation, and like, it was just the most retarded shit I've ever seen.
Are you loosely using the word conversation in there, or was it just like...
It was a Facebook rant.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
we
not
were
conversation.
typing at each other.
You're like typing harder every next message.
I was so angry. I was sitting there just like, ah!
A tear drops out of the computer monitor.
Like, I had to screen cap it and, like, send it to my friends. This guy told me that he has credible evidence that Alex Jones has been replaced by a lookalike. And I was like, alright, can you show me this evidence?
See? This Alex Jones? Beard. This Alex Jones... Where's the beard?
It's like, he's been on
MK
Joe
Ultra.
MK Ultra. Just gotta jump to that conclusion.
Just the crazy shit he was saying was insane. He was telling me I don't know anything about conspiracies. He's like, I've looked into this for years. When you start to see the things that don't add up, you know it's the government. And I'm like, dude, I have a podcast where I rant about conspiracies. This is like, everything
It could be a
people
future
hears
guest.
about
That's what
me.
we got at.
I think this guy sounds pretty credible. So
Totally. Stranger on the internet.
did he cite any sources of credibility?
YouTube.
Okay, well there we go.
He's up
Everybody
there
knows that
Not
YouTube-
everyone can upload videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
No. There's no chance in hell that just anybody can upload one. I'm pretty sure I've seen dick pics.
It's
on
all
there.
been back. So what do we know about this? So we know 54 dead. Is
It
that
is
what
now
it was?
59 dead.
59 is the most
dead,
recent.
515 wounded.
Okay.
2 from Manitoba, I heard.
Two
that died.
one from Stonewall and
Yeah.
one from Fort Richmond or something.
That's like
I don't know where the
mean
other person was.
for our news, like it's just them trying to hit home with it, you know, like
Yeah, well,
it's
of
like
course.
global
Sure.
being like, look at our site,
Sure.
which is
Yeah.
fucking sad. That
Pity
this is
us.
here's the deal. Like there's a lot of tragedy in this with the families that are being affected by it, the states just in general having to go on high alert again and having to deal with that type of tension
Yeah.
out there. But another tragedy that you see is the fucking newscast using this for a means of making money and getting views.
Of course.
It happens
Yeah.
all the time. So they start making shit up. They start saying, oh, this is... ISIS is taking claim for this, or this
ISIS
is
has
happening.
taken claim.
Yeah, I know, I heard they did, but that's the fucking thing. Like, there's
They
no
take-
It's not
ties to
confirmed.
it.
They just
do that with
there's no
everything.
Yeah,
ties.
they
There's-
take claim for everything.
Everything that comes up, they're like, it was me, and I'm like, no, that's not how this works. You can't just be like, it was you. Have some sort of fucking thing backing it up, and
They
they
have now
never
said
do.
they're tripling down on that, and they have this name that they call the guy, but like there's really nothing credible to that. But the amount of fake news that was going around,
Insane.
like just to highlight some, 4chan started. Do you know what Antifa is?
You kind of briefly talked to me on the phone yesterday
Okay,
about
so
it.
Antifa stands for anti-fascism. They're this. Think of the opposite of the alt-right. They're the alt-left. They're basically radicalized social justice warriors who go around with red flags claiming, like, calling for socialism and shit. Like, it's insane, but that's a topic for another day. But, so, they're the, like, alt-left, and, like, there's people... 4chan hates them, because 4chan hates
Everybody,
in the
like
left.
they hate fucking every time I've checked out anything on 4chan, it's a fucking real basket of hate.
Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. It's the greatest place. But, like, yeah, so they started saying that he was found with all this Antifa shit, and, like, clearly this is not true. You could find the source that it's from 4chan, which is not a credible thing, and, like, Breitbart and, like, Alex Jones and all these crazy news organizations are going with it. They're just like, this was the radical left trying to, like, take out the Republicans or the whatever. Like, it's
that one
insane.
Senate too was talking about how like
Yeah, well, he got his ass fired.
fired. Yeah, how he was talking. He said that like most of the people that listen to country music are Republicans, and that it was like a good
That's
thing.
not how it works.
No, and that it was like he didn't feel sorry for them that they died because they were Republicans.
Oh, fuck off.
It was,
Yeah.
I didn't
and he
catch
got
that. I
fired
missed
right
that.
away. It
Oh, he
was,
got
yeah.
fired.
I was by about 12:30 in the day. I was so fucking just drawn out from all this. I couldn't
It was
like
crazy.
listen anymore.
Trump said some bullshit too.
The
He was
worst.
saying some stupid
Well,
stuff.
I heard that what I heard from him wasn't that bad. It was just kind of
Yeah,
like
no, I don't-
him being like, "This is a tragedy." Like this is okay. We can say what we will about Trump up
Again,
till this
that
point.
was just
everything
me
that he's-
watching CNN. So
Okay, well, don't
exactly.
fucking watch CNN.
No,
CNN's
exactly.
terrible.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to watch
CNN
something.
is also saying that like there is no like there's that massive hurricane in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
They're saying there's no assistance from the states. That is not true
Horseshit.
at all. Like
Well,
FEMA's all over
Trump
that.
did come out with a statement saying that.
He gave them their golf trophy. That golf trophy who won. Everything is fine.
He put their country in
$2020.
$30 million in insurance debt.
Oh,
right?
the
For
guy's
his
a
golf
moron.
course.
Okay. The mayor or whatever, whoever
Like
runs
how we jumped
Puerto
over to
Rico,
Puerto Rico now.
whoever runs Puerto Rico is like they're on Twitter like begging for help. They're like, we need aid, and then Trump's like, oh, look at this weakling.
Yeah, exactly. None of your look at the community. It's sad that the community didn't come together.
Yeah,
and
it's like,
now-
shut the
yeah.
fuck up.
Like, come on,
he was
dude.
golfing the entire time, so
Yeah.
he
Just like, you're
literally
really fucking up my stroke right now.
Yes,
he
seriously.
literally gave that golf trophy. He's like, I dedicate this to the people in Puerto Rico.
That's fucked up.
thank
Okay,
you.
see, here's the thing about Trump, right? You can say anything that's happened up until this point is either fucked up or weird. Just the way that he runs his presidency right now is going to be a test to what he is as a president because of what just happened,
Yeah,
and with all the fucking
sure.
hurricanes and everything that's happened. This is something that.
This is on
Some-
your soil. This
Yeah,
is
and a lot of people
huge.
crack under this type of shit.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're gonna see over the course of the next month or so how he handles this. Like, you hate him, fine. You love him, fine. Doesn't make a difference within there. Right now is where the actual basis of what's gonna happen with him is gonna come out. And like, I'm not trying to say I support or I don't support. I'm staying in the middle here, just watching, you know, like seeing what's happening and what his responses and stuff are. And in regards to this very particular incident in Vegas, it hasn't been much that he said, but what he has said has at least been
okay.
kind of like
Yeah.
respectable
Yeah.
towards the people that have dealt with it.
You can't fault him for what he said.
Yeah. The one thing that we were talking about, like false news and stuff like that, I can't remember which fucking clickbait fucking thing I saw, but they were saying, oh, this guy is got the Confederate flag and he's all on Confederacy and he's like trying to, and I'm like, he shot up a
The Vegas
country,
guy?
yeah, he shot up a country festival.
Yeah, no.
That is not what happened there. There's no, like fucking, that was like 20,000 Dukes of Hazzard people in there. That's what that was.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that was the situation. That's what I picked up off of it almost right away.
I mean, people are saying there's multiple shooters just from like an echo.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. They're like, oh yeah, there was multiple guns. It's like, no, in the situation where they were, you can hear like sound echoing off of those buildings. Like, it's literally surrounded by tall hotel
The dude
buildings.
was
It's
32 floors in the air.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shooting
It's
down.
It's gonna echo, and it's gonna sound like more than one gun. And
Yeah.
like I think you said you like slowed it down to listen to like
Yeah.
what type of gun it might be.
Okay,
And
so-
you could actually hear the echoes. Like, you can hear that it's a lower level, and it's like almost like
Yeah.
a ring off of every single one that's like within a timed frame of it. So
From my amateur investigation, from when I slowed it down in one of the volleys, this was probably the main one, I counted 60 shots. Other people way smarter than me did the math and calculated it's about 700 rounds per minute. Every media organization immediately said this guy has a machine gun, like some sort of army weapon. What is more realistic is he had an M16 or an AR-15
modified, right?
with a massive magazine, and he modified it to have a Gatling crank. And that makes sense because of how fast the bullets are going
And how inaccurate. the
how
shots were.
inconsistent the shots were.
Yeah, it was very inconsistent. Also, we need to see the gun, right? Like, they need to show a picture of the gun.
It's
for
still
us to get
so
any further.
early
Yeah,
to
it's
even
so fucking
really
They found
diagnose this
49
entire
guns.
thing.
They
Here's-
found 19 in his hotel, and like the rest.
See, at
of
first
The
it was
smartest-
11, now it's 19.
Yeah,
and now
it's
they
jumping
got more guns at
49.
home, and then he
Here's-
took a 6-month vacation somewhere
Yeah.
where he was on hiatus.
There's a
We
lot
don't know
of-
Here's
about.
a-
and it was, yeah.
Here's a research strategy, or trying to figure out what's true, what's fake, and stuff. And this is a legit strategy: is you don't say much.
Yeah.
You barely say anything. You let people talk to you, and the people that talk to you that give you correct information that you didn't release, there's a good chance that there's some sort of lead within that.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's how
that's
they handle
one of the best. So it's in their best interest to not release, not talk, just give out
Yep.
small information to see who's going to spill a little bit extra that they know hasn't been released yet, and be like, okay,
Put the
I can
pieces
follow
together
that lead.
after.
Yeah.
And that's like a legit fucking strategy that has always happened. That some murder cases that I've some serial killers have been caught that way actually.
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, because they would release some information that the police know had not been released.
Yeah, and I think the saddest part about this whole thing is kind of what we touched base on earlier, is that radical parties are taking advantage of, you know, a shooting like this and all trying to take credit for this guy, you know, killing all these people. News stations are taking advantage of this for their ratings. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of taking advantage of a situation that really just needs sympathy. It needs to just, like, wait, diagnose what's happened, wait till you get the right facts, wait till you get all the facts, and then release what you can afterwards.
I've already heard,
you know?
within one day that they were doing the fucking Sandy Hook with it and saying it's all fake.
Yeah.
Nobody
It's
actually
weird,
died.
Dude, within hours, that's what that guy was
fucked up.
telling me.
Like,
Yeah.
just
He was a
shut your
crisis
fucking mouth.
actor. Okay, so there's been a lot of really negative shit, but I think we should, in times like this, we should always focus on something a little brighter. So, during, like, we gotta remember, this was one fucked up guy. There were hundreds of people helping. I have seen...
Oh, yeah, it was
Oh, the
amazing.
unification
Yeah, it
of that was
amazing.
insane.
I have seen so many people who have saved lives. People have died saving lives doing this. There were people... There's video footage of people just, like...
Pulling up in the
wounded people.
truck.
Well, they were
and,
fucking... I
yeah,
saw a video
load
footage
them
of
up in the
people
back of the truck
it was
and-
fucking firing.
Yeah,
trying
they-
to help
they-
people.
everyone
They
get
were
down.
Like
throwing
getting
them
up
in
and
the
like
truck.
get down, grabbing people, ringing
Awesome.
them out. Like
Awesome.
that type of unification is
Those are
fucking
the heroes,
amazing.
right?
There's a
Like,
video-
that's
Real
awesome.
heroes.
Yeah.
There's and the medical workers. There's
Fuck, I saw one haunting picture. Finish your thing. I'll
there's
tell it
there's
after.
a video that shows someone went to the blood bank because they desperately need blood. There's hundreds of people
Lined
donating
up,
blood.
right? There was
Yeah.
over 1 million donated already,
Yeah.
and then lineups,
Which
like
is
lineups and lineups
Great.
of
They
clothes and
always
blood
need blood.
Whatever they
Always.
need.
for the families, any
The,
kind of
uh,
support they need.
The haunting
It's awesome.
picture, the worst picture, even after seeing all those videos and how fucked up and just terrible all that was, the worst thing I saw was a picture of a hospital wing that had nurses kind of like, you can see they're in a panic and it's just a trail of blood on the ground all going into the
Yeah.
ER and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fucking disgusting
Yeah.
to see
That the other bad picture I saw was after everyone had cleared out, there was basically just garbage on the ground and dead bodies, and most
Yeah,
of
that's
them
what
were
I see
laying
too.
arm in arm,
Yeah.
like ducking for cover,
Holding each
hiding
other,
each
yeah.
other, like sad
Yeah.
fucking shit.
Yeah,
and
so terrible.
Yeah.
sure, I love conspiracies as not as much as the next guy, but you can't just go and say these are actors immediately after it happens. Like, you gotta think of the families. Like, this is not cool.
Yeah.
If that's
It's the
what
same
your
problem
belief
we had
is-
with the Chester Bennington.
Yeah, I was gonna say we
Yeah,
talked
Chester,
about this
yeah.
with Chester. It's the same thing,
Right,
Yeah,
within
just-
right away, right? Like that was the thing. With all these types of situations, you're always going to have those people that are like that. But I think they need to like I'm not saying you have the right to say what you want to say and how you feel about it. Just fucking be respectful the way that everybody else is being respectful about it. Wait some time before you say anything. Don't get me wrong, I don't agree with these fucking idiots, but it's not the point. You do have the right to say whatever the hell you want to say.
Yeah.
Just fucking be respectful to the people that have had to deal with this. And
That's right.
I think to kind of like take a conclusion on this is like, I think I speak for all three of us when all of our thoughts are going to everybody out there in Vegas and having to deal with this and all the families that have been affected by one fucking shitty asshole.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
was.
Most
Definitely.
definitely. Most definitely.
All right. Okay. So, well, that was just a very quick blurb on that. It just is an elephant in the room that I think we all kind of needed to address and like talk about.
It's
because
current
something
news.
else.
It's something that needs to be talked about.
One other thing that happened: Tom Petty passed away last night. or
Okay,
yesterday.
did he pass away?
Yes, he did.
Or
Yeah,
he
there was
did
a
now?
release.
Okay.
The thing is that
he was
they-
on life support, right?
He was on life
And
support
then-
and he was brain dead. There
Well,
was
they
no
found
brain
him
activity.
unconscious, right?
He had a cardiac arrest, unconscious, not breathing. They brought him into the hospital, put him on life support, held him for a little bit with that, and then the family took him off life support
okay.
because he was not coming back. So,
Because I heard one where he was on life support, then they took him off of life support. I
Yeah,
heard
they
he was
did,
like, oh,
yeah.
he isn't dead. Like, they confirmed too early, like, that he died.
I think that did
or
happen
whatever.
where it was a confirmation that he had passed away too early.
Yeah.
Like I had two posts. I had one originally being like, "Oh, this is this truly is a heartbreak. I was making not necessarily a pun, but like something going into it. Yeah, it was, I guess, kind of a pun. It wasn't meant to be a joke though. Like this is, but
no. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Puns don't have to be bad. Okay,
I've seen some bad ones that came up. Like
all puns are bad.
Okay.
But I was like, this is truly a heartbreak to hear this. And then like within an hour of me posting that, I had to post a rest in peace because like it went from being he's off life support, we're just hanging on.
And Tom Petty was awesome.
Oh, the Heartbreakers.
Yeah,
fucking so good. Yeah. Like very few bands throughout history I feel have a catalog that has stood the test of time, and his is one of those. You know, like you got your Pink Floyds, you got your Heartbreakers, you got fucking U2, you got some bands out there that like their catalog will always be played and always be relevant no matter when it is. Yeah, Neil Young's another really good example of that, right? And to see one of those people. Like leave the world kind of sucks, and it does suck, and it's a bit of a fucking somber situation over that and everything else that happened in the past 2 days. It's been a real rough one on people just in general. Not that that even compares close to what happened in Vegas, but it's still something that's like added on to everything else. You know, like
totally.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, but anyway, that really sucks. I was a big fan of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And it sucks to hear that he's gone. But he will live on with his music. He's got something there that's right. Always going to be around. So,
who else is going to live on with their music?
Well, funny you mentioned that. That brings us right into like our topic, the topic. This is our 1,000 view episode. Finally, we're getting to it, and it's a doozy.
It's a doozy.
I've been saying this for like 3 weeks. I've been preparing myself for this, but I am covering Tupac's murder, and it does tie in quite a bit to Biggie's murder as well. Oof. So Tupac and Biggie. It's going to be pretty. It's going to be a heavy hitter on this one. Before we get into that, because there's so much to fucking go over, and like some disclaimers I got to do at the beginning. But before any of that, aside from 9/11, 7/11, how was your? How was your week?
7-Eleven was an inside job.
If you take away, add 3 plus 1.
Take
11.
away the 7. That's 11.
Nine
people were in 7.
There's 9 people in the 7-Eleven.
9/11. Not 11. My week's been great. I mean, a little bit sleep deprived, but Christy has been amazing with baby, and she's like earlier on in the week, I think it was like slowly I'm getting to get more sleep every single night. Slowly baby's kind of like sleeping more during the nighttime. Christy's been just doing awesome with her, and so I think it was like 6 hours last night, which was huge. I feel rejuvenated with that amount of time, so things have been good. And baby's been hilarious and fun. And you know what's funny is I thought everyone's like, how's it feel like to be back at work? And I'm like, you know what? It kind of feels like a break, as bad as it sounds. But it was like,
what do you mean? Nobody's asking that. I walked through the door and you're like, this is a break.
I feel live. It was like, what, you know what? Because it was like, it's like crying, and then you change the baby diaper, and then you're walking around with her, and then you're cooking dinner, and then you're clean. It's a lot of like full-time moms. You guys are amazing, because that is the toughest job on the planet, most definitely.
And it's the two of you doing it, not just one, you know.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I got to see what it was like firsthand, and it's a lot of work. I mean, obviously, it's amazing and fun at the same time, but it sure takes a lot out of you, and hats off to all those moms out there, because you guys are amazing. And yeah, so it's been fun, and it's been exciting. Not much has been updated with the baby. I mean, it's
still a baby.
Still a baby. And I'm just working lots. I've worked 5 days, and been going to the gym lots, which is really good.
I know we've been happy to have you back. That's for sure. I missed having you, not having you around.
Thank you.
It's nice having you back.
Thank you.
Really is.
I was gonna say I could start crying and shitting at work if it'll make you more comfortable.
He does that anyway. He'll just make sure he points you out.
I feel like I'm at home again.
Hey, Dwight, it happened again. I made poopies.
Dwight, can you change me?
Remember, up from down, up to down.
How about yourself there, Aaron? How's your week been?
Pretty good. Went paintballing again.
Yeah,
lots of fun.
That's awesome. I saw your D-Day video.
Yeah, I actually had my camera with me this time.
Nice.
I made some little kid's day, so I put him in a YouTube video. This little kid was crazy, though. Actually, there was a couple of them that crazy
in a
really
good way
weird.
or in a bad way?
Good.
Oh, okay.
It's really weird when people are like asking you all these questions because they think you're like some paintball expert. Like I've gone like 6 times. And this kid's like, so what kind of gun should I get? And I was like, oh, well, I like this one. Then I realized I'm like mostly talking out of my ass. But, like, there's this one kid. So we're doing the D-Day. I've explained it before. There's massive amounts on one side and then less on the other side. He was on the side with less, the defending side.
He was in the castle.
He was in... Jesus Christ.
Hoo hoo hoo.
It's the ghost of Biggie.
And it's off. The ghost of Jesus Christ.
I instantly went into fucking kung fu mode, man.
I'm gonna fuck somebody up.
What the
For those of you that don't
baby.
know, we have some audio stuff that's coming into the next episode, and I have a Bluetooth, and my Bluetooth just decided to fucking make us swallow our own dicks.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm a
Whoa.
little scared. I forgot what I was talking about.
I think
These
everyone...
Oh, yeah.
I hope everyone didn't get scared about, like... yeah.
Okay, Bluetooth's off. I'll turn it on when it comes on. Just ignore the big beep when I bring it back on.
So, this kid was defending, so he had, like, he was shooting down at, like, 3 times as many people that there was up there. Just shooting at a bunch of people. And he lasted till the very end.
Whoa, nice.
Where all these people just, like, stormed in and took him out.
They all just fucking keep shooting. Nobody mercy. They're just like,
7-year-old kid.
This kid's dead. So, like, at the end, I'm like, he's just, like, standing at the top. He's like, I was the last one.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like, what do you have to say for YouTube? He's like, what do you want to say to YouTube? And he's like, I'm awesome. So
just
I
does
put
the
that
fucking
on my
Titanic thing on the end. Like, I'm king of the world.
That's awesome.
That's sweet, man. That's actually a pretty decent weekend. Not too bad at all.
Yeah, I had fun. I met some people.
Been a pretty decent week, actually. I kind of went on a record buying spree. I went, man, my hip hop has been lacking a lot lately, like what I have on my record collection. So I kind of went a little nuts on bought some records that I've been kind of like holding off on.
This Top Gun soundtrack, is that's
pretty hip hop.
That one's very hip hop. Yeah, no,
Tom
that
Cruise
one's
is
actually
staring at me during this podcast.
for the person that we were shouting out a lot on the last episode, Kyle, who absolutely adores fucking Tom Cruise for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's a smile. I can't really tell. But I bought him that for a gift to be like, hey, sorry we fucking make fun of you every second we see you.
I feel like there's
And
Tom
on the
Cruise
podcast.
and then
And the
there's,
podcast.
I feel like there's Tom Cruise and then there's Tom Cruise from Top Gun. Like,
Yeah, there's Scientology Tom
Okay,
Cruise.
yeah, that's
Exactly,
what it is.
exactly.
There is a point. There is like a split in the timeline of Tom
Yes.
Cruise where it gets really bad.
I think he was always involved with Scientology, like for a long time.
Probably.
But like
It's probably made
Top
him
Gun
who he
Tom
is.
Cruise, the guy looks young. He's a stud. He's got the leather
Badass,
jacket on. He's God.
I'll give him that.
Kenny Loggins,
The
Danger
only
Zone.
like listening
Yeah.
to him talk though these days is just I can't look at his old stuff because
No,
of it.
he's
It's
insane.
really hard.
Yeah, he's insane.
He's
I-
fucking bad shit, fucking
He's
crazy.
Yeah, I just picture him on South Park.
Yeah, well, that's just it, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, don't get me wrong. There are some like fucking spots here and there that I like. You know, I enjoyed War of the Worlds. I thought that was a fantastic movie.
He still does some decent
Yeah,
action
he does
movies.
do some
sure.
good stuff here and there, but it's
But
hard.
the problem is every time you look at him, and I get this, every time I look at him, and every time I think of Oprah Winfrey.
That's what it is. I see that
I
fucking.
see it all. Jumping on
They're
the couch,
jumping
losing
around.
it.
Couch.
Fucking Christ!
I'm
the
in
fuck.
love.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw
It
the
was like,
best
whoa.
meme. One of our friends, Devin S, sent us a meme of fucking him doing that shit where he's jumping like this, and Oprah goes back down, but they superimposed the Sith fucking lightning on fucking Oprah, so she's getting electrocuted. It's like fucking yeah, that's great.
awesome.
That is
Yeah.
really fucking funny. But yeah, okay, so back to hip hop. I went and like kind of filled up a couple holes in my collection that I wanted to get. I got a couple Doom albums because I've been really into Doom lately. Always kind of liked him, but especially lately, I've been getting into him a lot. I've been researching a lot of his stuff. Some stuff on a future episode that I'm hoping we're going to do. I'll talk about it towards the end of the episode, though.
Cool.
But yeah, I picked up some Doom albums. I got a Method Man album fairly recently, like his very first one with like "You're All I Need," the one just that came right off of fucking Wu-Tang album. I need to get another. Yeah, I want to get another Wu-Tang album. I want to get. I actually want to get the W is the one that I want to get. Most people don't want that one. Yeah, that's the one that comes with Gravel Pit. Like that's the Gravel
Yeah,
Pit
yeah.
album. I fucking love
It's
that
an awesome
song.
album.
The
Yeah.
whole album's great.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to get that one, but yeah, I kind of like picked up a few of those things, which is fun.
Did you
Great.
pick up that Pac album? Was that the name?
Oh no, I had that one for a long
Oh, okay.
time. Yeah,
Oh, I mean,
these guys walked into me like fucking blaring Pac on the fucking on the sound system.
Getting himself in the mood.
Yeah, getting in the mood to talk about Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah.
But it's been a good week, nonetheless. Other than what's happened in the past couple days.
Yep.
Tom Petty hit pretty hard. I didn't like that very much, but other than that, it's been fucking great.
Tom
Work's been good.
Petty.
Another.
60 people died, and Tom Petty's what you care about.
No, it's not what it is. It's like I care about the other stuff. I'm just saying that one.
I'm
hit,
sorry.
That one
Forget
hit
the
a
people
little.
that died in Puerto Rico.
There's so
Tom
that,
Petty.
Okay, just a real
Puerto
quick
Rico
one.
has no power.
I got a little bit more I'm going to talk about on my week, but let's just take a little second here. How much overshadowing has happened from the beginning of the summer till now?
Oh,
something
I
would
know.
happen, then something else would happen that would
nuts. It was
overshadow.
like hurricane
something
here,
else,
hurricane there,
something.
hurricane
Yeah,
here.
it's been nothing
Mass
but
shooting,
freaking
Tom Petty.
We talk
Chester.
about like again, not fucking supporting Trump, but we talk about wartime presidents, people that have to deal with war within the presidency. Holy fuck, he's had to deal with a lot this summer, just in one summer. Like, I mean, the guy's fucking an idiot, but regardless,
North
he's
Korea,
had a lot. He's
like,
had to fucking deal with North
It
Korea.
has not ended. It literally has not
Well,
ended.
the thing is that it keeps entertaining the fucking thought of like negotiating and talking to North Korea. Like, shut the fuck up. That's all you have to do. Just shut the fuck up, and then they'll leave because they have
It's
nothing.
so simple to just come out, to me, to just come out with like a simple press conference and just like smother it all. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna all come together, say some really nice words, even if you're bullshitting it. Say some nice words to bring everyone, you know,
He
just...
called him Rocket Man.
It's so like, why?
He
Why
roasted the fuck out of him.
know, man.
Here's my deal. Like,
Silly.
I would have more respect if he came out and like had a serious press conference in regards to North Korea and went, "I'm rubber, you're glue," and just fucking went,
say.
Yeah.
bounces off me,
Sticks to you.
back to you.
Yeah.
And then just walked away. That would be
drops the
more.
mic.
Yeah, boom. That's seriously
Sarah
all the
taking
fuck.
over.
That's how serious you have to take their threats at this point because they like. That's why it keeps happening. Is because he keeps.
He just needs to come
Fucking
out,
egging it on.
get his shit together for like 10 minutes.
That's it.
Say a
10 minutes.
beautiful,
That's all we ask.
a beautiful press
For 4
conference.
years.
You know,
I just want 10
commend
minutes. That's all.
people, be nice about it, ensure people that you're not losing it. You know, like,
Yeah.
and then just
We're like, with this shooting that just happened, what's going to happen? Because before, with the Obama presidency, every time there was a shooting, they cracked down on gun laws. That was something Trump
Yep.
said he was very against.
He wasn't
going
gonna
to
do.
down.
Yeah.
And so far, he's tweeted, "We'll talk about gun laws in like later," which I'm okay with that. And probably right now is not the time to push fucking agendas.
Well, how many mass shootings has there been in the last like year? It was like
I
11 or
couldn't tell you.
something. 20?
There's
We
been
have
quite
our
a few.
fact checker in the house today, so yeah, 20, I guess.
Jamie, can you pull that up?
Jamie, pull that up, please.
Past 2 years, 20.
Past 2 years,
2
20.
years 20, yeah. Which is a
So,
fuck ton.
And do you gotta
That
say
thing-
now? Are we gonna talk about? Is it the gun problem because the gun laws how they are,
dude,
or
this-
is it because the
this
amount of
is-
population in the
This
states?
is a
whole nother
topic.
episode.
This is like a whole episode.
Yeah,
This
you're
is
right.
6
You're right.
other
I'm gonna shut the fuck
episodes.
up.
Yeah, we got
have
to
to-
back away on
You're
this.
right.
So take a few steps backwards.
We need to preface that mass shooting thing because what defines a mass shooting is more than 4 people killed by one person. But not anymore. That has changed. There
Where
are mass
terrorism
shootings.
changed too this week.
There are mass shootings every day in Chicago. They just stopped reporting them as mass shootings.
Yeah, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think I think we need to take 2 steps back.
It's
My
the
week
longer
has
one.
been very
Dude.
good. It has been a good week.
Oh yeah, Pop Elm. That's right. Okay, sorry.
Wow, that fucking went derailed so quick.
No, gun control could have saved Biggie and Tupac.
Well, I
It
mean,
all
I'm pretty
ties
sure.
together.
Pretty sure.
There was 9 guns in the room. Plus, I love it.
I believe he said he had 99 nines.
99.
99 and
And he was
bitch
on the
ain't one.
11th floor? No, he's on the 32nd floor, but if you minus... Yeah.
Well, if you
9/11.
didn't know, this is Why the Fuck Not, where 3 friends sit around one table and bring an awesome topic of discussion for your listening pleasure. Today, we are talking about Tupac and Biggie's murder for our conspiracy,
Yeah.
episode 2.
Talk
We're back
about
doing another
Pac's
one.
life.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody talking about Pac's life. What do you know about... All right.
All right, so let's kind of just get started. Let's just fucking dive in pretty heavy with this, all right? Start with the basics. September 7th, 1996, Tupac was murdered outside of the MGM Vegas casino and hotel. Yeah, that was a pretty fucking sad day for a lot of people. That was a leader of a generation dying there. Back when it happened, I don't think people treated it the same way that they do now. But a lot of people look at it just as big as like another black leader dying, like getting assassinated.
Especially in 90s hip hop.
Oh, he was
Oh, yeah.
huge,
Yeah,
and like
he was mad.
the stuff he
He's
was
still
doing.
massive.
Well, the thing is that right now people still try and like he set the bar
His sound-
to today.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people still try and be like people are like I'm the next Tupac. Like everybody
Yeah.
keeps doing this thing, or the new Pac is what people are saying now. Like I'm new Pac. Like
That
that's
is
fucked up. No, it is retarded, but that's what they're saying though. Like I can't
And
remember.
he really
it was
brought
T.I.
hip-hop
said that
too
once.
to like the...
Oh yeah, T.I.
the-
That's who I think of as the new.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Like he said, I know, fuck T.I. but like that he said it. God, I can't. Drake was mentioning it at one point. Like this is a common thing. That
Yeah.
I'm the next Tupac. So he has still set the bar that this is how high you can fucking get with this industry.
Yeah.
But on top of
I
that,
think
he was
really
also a
brought
solid
the music
leader.
how it was, though, too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he really brought the sound of 90s... He was the sound of 90s hip-hop. You
Guaranteed.
think of him as, like...
That, like, well, between
he
Dre's,
influenced so many
between
people. That was
Dre's
the thing.
beats and his lyrics, his lyricism,
Yeah.
and the stuff he would say, those
That
two,
created
the
your
combination,
classical...
yeah, like always taking those old '60s and '70s funk tunes and
Yeah.
sampling that into your fucking music, and then having Pac's like what he talks about, because like there's different phases of Pac where he's talking, you know, like murder and like the gangster life, and then there's ones where he talks about like hardships, like in the early years, and then there's times that he's talking about family, like
Love and shit.
yeah, love. Like he's all over the place. He's all over the map. But the thing is that with other hip hop artists, you can't do that. You have your fucking subject, and this is you kind of have to stick to it. You know, like you can't hear a fucking love song from ICP. It just doesn't make sense. You can't fucking do it. But Tupac can do like
Shout out to Juggalos.
Tupac can easily throw something out that's a love song, and then on the exact same album, the next song could be a straight up like gangster rap,
yeah.
like, and that's something that like he's set the bar
Not
in
to
that
mention
sense.
The if you think of like his style, like almost clothing wise, like that do rag thing.
Yeah, the
like,
fucking vests that he does all the
and
time.
people still do that. I remember people dressing like that when I was in like junior high.
It was the fucking way that people just loved it. And like back then, I didn't pay much mind to Tupac. Like I listened to him, I liked him, but I never really paid the amount of mind that I do now. You know, like, and I think his death made me like really research his
But you gotta
his
think,
life and what he's done.
We're up here in Canada. You got to think where was he from? Like Detroit or California?
He was East Coast.
Biggie was East Coast, wasn't he?
Yeah, but so was Tupac.
Oh.
Tupac was East Coast on a West Coast label, and that's the fucked up part.
That's where the beef.
Okay.
That's where we're getting into the beef and talking about
Learning
that.
Just thinking,
already.
he would be a lot bigger in urban America as opposed to fucking middle of Canada.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so let's
And he created a black movement, right? Like,
oh, well, that's the thing that I was talking about. Like when I say a leader died, people looked up to him, and he recognized that and followed that. Like he didn't just become the gangster rapper, and that's what his fucking that he's labeled with this now. He became a leader the same way that Martin Luther King became a leader,
Yeah.
not to
Would
the
you
same
say-
degree, but the same
Yeah.
way.
Would you say he led by example and tried to set
Absolutely.
good roles?
Yes, he
Well, that's
did.
pretty good.
It took a while for him to get there, you know, and he still had his breaking moments where he did stupid shit. Every fucking leader does. He did the same thing, and that's actually one of the things that is attributed to the.
and he stood by his morals. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, even if he was doing hate, you know, couple of hate songs, I'm sure you're going to get into, right, with the beef songs and stuff like that.
I'm not going to talk about very specific songs, but yes,
We're talking like hit him up and
Yeah, hit him
railing
up,
it.
yeah.
But either way, like he was willing to just, even though he sang a song like that directly towards someone that he knew he was, you know, going back to the East
But I
Coast
mean-
and he's going to hear something like that, he would still stand by his song. He would still spew what he wanted to spew, and he didn't give a shit what
he
other
had no
people thought.
filter.
You know, it was
He didn't feel that he needed to.
That's also part of the style, like beef rapping, like or battle rapping, like that was big
Yeah.
during that.
Yeah.
So they
It was at its pinnacle at that point.
yeah, like
That
I'm
was
not
also
sure
the
if he was
downfall
much
of
of
it,
a
too.
battle rapper, but
He wasn't intentionally a battle rapper. Like he didn't like go and set beefs and stuff like that. But he always responded to them when they came his way.
yeah.
Like the battle rap lifestyle all started back a long time ago before hip hop when it was called the Dozens, and what the Dozens was is like your mama's so fat jokes and stuff. They would spit jokes back and forth,
Yeah.
and this goes way back. This goes like back to slave times when they would say yo mama's this, but when they say yo mama's this, they're not talking about your mama. They're talking about their master. So it's their way of like
yeah.
Really?
spitting
That's
back
where
and
that came
forth,
from?
and that's kind of where it started in there, and then it started slowly becoming almost like a rhyme eventually. And then we got into the hip hop movement of the late 70s, early 80s, all the way into the 90s, and today, which is now like in triples, where da 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 da. Like I don't
Yeah.
like that fucking sound with
No.
it, but I get it. Like I know where it's coming from. That triples makes a sense. But the difference between that type of like hip hop and Tupac's hip hop is he was rapid fire. Like he didn't do the da 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 da. You know, like in those stops, he was just like
Yeah.
And he like almost reversed himself back on everything. Like he was on constant rapid fire, which is something that you don't see very often. There are some great like trap hip hop artists that do that now, like Aesop Rock and I'm trying to think of some other ones like Atmosphere that kind of have that like constant movement in their music.
Yeah.
But Tupac was the one that really like vocalized and turned that into a public thing, you know, like it wasn't just the underground hip hop artists.
Yellow Wolf.
Like, yeah, they got it. Like Yellow Wolf is another one that does that. Eminem's very good at doing that too. They have different rhyme schemes than what he did. Like Tupac's rhyme scheme isn't as complex, but his message was a lot more complex. So let's go into Tupac's life just a little bit, very briefly, kind of talk about him. Earliest thing I remember myself seeing him do is, you guys remember the band Digital Underground? You may not if you do.
Barely.
Yeah, they sing the song The Humpty Dance. Like it was
Humpty
Dance, it's your chance to do the Humpty. Okay, that song. Tupac was a backup dancer for that album.
Wow.
That
That's right,
song.
yeah.
He was part of that group in that sense. He didn't do much hip hop in there, but he started out doing that type of stuff. Before that, though, he went to a college. I can't remember exactly which one. It was a famous one about acting. He wanted to be an actor, really.
Oh.
And that's kind of how it started. That's how we got into dance, too, is because he had to learn all these things to be into acting. So,
Yeah,
which a
that
lot
makes
of the
sense.
great ones do that. Drake started
A
out
lot
as a
of his-
fucking actor, too.
Yeah.
Music videos were. It seemed like he was an actor almost.
Fucking Hobson was an actor too. Like regardless how you feel about him, he started on That's So Raven, I think, was where he got his start. He was just one of the
Really?
guys on there. Yeah,
I
Hobson was
never
on
knew
That's So
that.
Raven. But yeah, all these people had these like upbringings in acting. So did Tupac. Then Tupac kind of like moved over to the hip hop side of things, released an EP, and like that's where his like career started as hip hop, and it became the main focus on him. So that's Tupac's like where he sat at, like what his interests were and where he kind of went with that. The next thing that I'm going to talk about, which is I don't want to like bring him up as a main topic of this, but you can't bring up one without the other. Christopher Wallace. Notorious B.I.G. I'm sure you got a lot to talk about now because you've been really getting into him lately. But was murdered in Los Angeles, March 9th, 1997. Only a few months after Tupac's September 7th, 96, right? So it was very close amongst each other. So these two fucking icons are fucking dead. And that sucks because these two people were like the head of the movement. They were the ones moving. And this
Biggie
is
had his own. He
Yeah,
started
exactly.
his own type of rap. Basically.
and
His
his
East
was
Coast sound and the West
his
Coast
was
sound
like
almost, right?
well, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And like Biggie had this like almost slur to his fucking lyrics, you know, like it wasn't bad, but like it was slur. Like he rapped fat. It sounds dumb, but like he's blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that fat sound to it and carried it through, but nobody could compare to his freestyle and his lyricism that he did.
Yeah.
Like Tupac could too, but it was a different style. It was the rapid fire, and this is the complete opposite of Tupac here. Like this guy would be like very slow,
yeah.
melodic, but really fucking drives the point home. Like
Yeah.
and says some great
Really
stuff.
good on emphasis.
Yeah, and this is one of the big things that I think we need to take into account here that a lot of people don't, is neither one of these people were fucking gangsters when they started this.
Mm-hmm.
Biggie wasn't a gangster. Biggie was like a
Didn't he
normal
sell
ass
crack?
fucking. That is a persona.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that is a persona. They
Jesus.
do not. There's no real confirmation on that. People say that that's where he got a lot of his stuff. He might have at some point did that, but there's a lot of interviews with people that worked with him at a grocery store where he was a bagger and would practice his rhymes and stuff like that. He was just a normal ass fucking dude that knew how to rhyme really well and hit that persona.
Makes sense,
Where did he
I
grow
guess.
up?
He grew up in New York, Queens.
Where? Queens.
Queens,
Okay.
I think.
Well,
I think
so
it's Queens.
even in Queens,
Oh,
it's
was
like,
it
I
Brooklyn
mean,
or
it's,
Queens? I can't remember. Either way, but like, no, it wasn't Little Jamaica. It was Brooklyn or Queens.
so it's still kind of a harder area.
It's he had a hard
You know,
like
it's
he had.
you're still
I'm
in
sure
a-
his
he saw
influence
still in a ghetto. I
in
guess,
his
right?
in his
Like, it's-
lyricism, his life was there. He saw these things. Like I just don't think he was involved as everybody thinks he was.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that in his past talk about they're like, oh, Biggie or Christopher was just a sweetheart. You know, like everybody loved him. Everybody that was around him that do interviews now that have nothing but like fucking positive,
Nice thing
great
to say.
things with him. And that's something that Biggie has said many times is like keep away from the negatives because as soon as you do, that fucking brings us all down. And he's always had this kind of attitude. And this came from his mom too, which if like Biggie is huge into his mom. Mm-hmm. Nobody loves Biggie's mom more than Biggie.
Yeah.
Biggie fucking loves his mom more than most people love their own mom. Like this guy did everything for her. So he was unfortunately murdered in Los Angeles, March 9th, 1997. So There's a few things that we kind of have to cover just for the murder aspect of this thing. One of the things that could have been a big contributing point. So I kind of got to go through this like fucking novel of shit that I got to talk about. But the few things that contributed to these deaths were the East Coast West Coast beef. We kind of talked a little bit about this before. The starting of the East Coast,
Crips, eh?
yeah. A lot of this can fucking be attributed to very specific points that like really shot it up. There was things that did it before, but these are the ones that like are public that happened. I believe it was the Source Awards. Suge Knight accepted an award for a Death Row Records nominee. I can't remember who the nominee was. It's not the point. All of them were up on the stage anyway. And Suge Knight basically, in not so many words, said, "Hey, Biggie, why don't you fuck off a bad boy and come out over here where our producers don't go on the records. Our producers and our fucking people don't go on the fucking on the tracks. You know, you don't see us on your record," and which is fucking bullshit. Have you ever seen a fucking Death Row Records? It's like the name thing there, but as soon as you flip it over, it's like Suge Knight. Yeah. It's the biggest fucking thing on the back of the record. It says Suge Knight right across it, so it's horseshit. But the point is that he said this on the Source Awards, saying, you know, like, fuck Puff, come here, work with us, come with the real boys, you know, and that's a big thing that happened there. Now, Tupac, who was on death row at this point, one thing that I think I'm trying to word myself properly here. Him moving on there was a big thing for him because he kind of didn't really have much of a father figure. He didn't have his dad around. It was all his mom. And when he moved over there, he started kind of looking at Suge Knight like a bit of a father figure. But because of his acting background, which is why I brought this up in the first place, he started getting really into like the gangster movies, and I'm talking like gangster movies, as in like mafia gangsters.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it got to the point that he was calling himself the Don and like and stuff like this. Like they literally played out this fucking fantasy within themselves. So in their heads, although Suge Knight wanted to be kind of like a thug in this whole situation, in their heads they are actually being these fucking things just in the record fucking label industry, which is a big fucking thing. So this kind of like started that whole like mentality of this type of
mob mentality.
Yeah, mob mentality. Okay, so that happened there. There's another one that really fucking attributed to the East Coast West Coast beef. There was a magazine, also The Source.
XXL?
Nope, The Source was the one that attributed this first. There's a cover which we can put on the website. I have it here, where Biggie's on it. And Biggie and Puff, actually. And right in the top corner of it,
oh yeah, I remember
it says
that.
East versus West.
Oh yeah.
Very first time that it's really been put into a magazine.
I've heard stories that the East and West wasn't a big thing, like the beef wasn't a big thing until it started getting into magazines.
That's where the beef really hit, was within the magazines.
So
it started with Source. With the Source Awards, but the Source magazine put it on the fucking magazine, and now it's like distributed everywhere. So the people that didn't see the magazine, like a lot of those street gangsters,
in the '90s, magazines were
huge.
That was your influence.
That's what you needed. In every industry too, the metal industry, the punk industry, the fucking
I remember
skateboard
magazine,
skate magazine, Transworld, Thrasher.
Yeah,
there's some like magazines
Big
were
Brother,
huge.
Man.
Big Brother's well, that's basically just Jackass.
Yeah, I know.
So this magazine got released. And this stuff on the Source Awards happened with Suge Knight. Yeah. And then Puffy and Big won an award on that same award, and they kind of went up and they actually respectfully kind of did, like, they shouted out Tupac, being like, we're not here to try and start anything. Good job on winning those awards. Like, he was actually pretty good. That wasn't what he said, but it was close enough to that. It wasn't a bad situation when he was doing it. It was almost like he was trying to squash the beef before the beef actually happened. But then the Source magazine put that East Coast versus West Coast beef up on the fucking corner, which was fucking harsh. Very shortly after, Death Row was running shit. Death Row was making so much fucking money because of the Tupac influence and Dr. Dre and Snoop. And like, there's a lot of fucking Death Row that happened. There was another Source magazine that came out where it was completely black. Snoop, Tupac, and Suge all standing in a fucking row, all wearing black suits, and it says Death Row Records, and in fucking red, the leaders of the fucking thing. Like, it looked like a blood red across there, being like, don't fuck with these guys. That was another one that really set the tone, because Suge specifically said, you can have us on the cover of your magazine, but this is what you need to do. And he made them do that type of like look to it and stuff. Right. So this was like based off of Suge for the most part.
Who's not the nicest guy.
No,
He's
no,
a very
Suge,
sketchy guy.
Very sketchy. And like I'm going to talk about some interviews that I had that I like checked out later when I was doing this. So before I go much further, because we're about to get into like facts and stuff that I've come across, a big disclaimer. This is as close to what I know happened, as close as I can figure it. Now, there's two types of people. Actually, there's three types of people that are within this realm of talking about what happened here. There is the person that was involved that doesn't want to say shit because they're scared they're going to get fucking killed. So that information doesn't ever get out. There's the people that weren't even kind of involved that fucking won't shut up because they want to be involved. They want to have the publicity of being part of it. And then there's the truth. And usually the people that are telling the truth are the ones that have nothing to gain off of what they're saying, at least in my past experience. So some of the stuff is off of column A, some of the stuff's off of column B, and some of them's off of column C. So take some of the stuff with a grain of salt. This is just the best I was able to find. But yeah, I do have one person that I think is probably the most credible person that I've like listened to on these things, and that has more involvement on the Biggie murder than anything.
Cool.
Okay, so Tupac, Biggie, they're friends. You can find fucking tracks with Tupac and Biggie singing
Let him
together.
sleep on his couch.
Yeah, they were really fucking good friends. Again, this is how East Coast rappers are fucking East Coast friends, right? And then him moving over to West Coast kind of started that fucking flare of like, what the fuck? Because I think they were trying to move him on to Bad Boy, but he went to Death Row, right? So that's a little bit of what the fucks. But there was rumors shitting around about Biggie's wife, can't remember her name, sleeping with Tupac while they were married. Okay, this was a pretty big one, yeah. And a lot of people fucking... This is like public. A lot of people know about this. In fact, there is a Tupac song, I think it's Hit 'Em Up, where he is literally saying, I fucked your wife. Like, it literally comes out of his mouth.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, so this literally has come out. Tupac gets shot 7 times. Survives.
Crime of passion.
Isn't it 5?
No, I thought it was 7. Maybe 50 Cent was 7. You might have been right.
No,
it might have been
50
5.
Cent
It
was
was
9.
50, okay, well, either way, he got shot more than
5
once.
shots couldn't draw me.
Yeah, 5 shots.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah,
5
yeah.
shots.
Right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so 5 shots. He got shot 5 times.
I think it's 5.
Totally survived. Also had to go to jail because of it. Well, in
Getting
jail.
shot?
No, it was other things too. But
Weapons offense or
yeah,
something.
it was a weapons offense.
And
is
he
what it was.
called out, he blamed.
Because,
Right.
and here's one of the conspiracies on this. While he was in jail, a lot of the thugs or jail inmates would come to him being like, Biggie was the one that, like, I've got fucking sources telling me that Biggie was the one that set that hit out to fucking kill you. And, like, everybody in there was saying it. And here's where the conspiracy goes, is that a lot of people believe that was LAPD undercover in there saying this to
Because they wanted this
to
end.
shut the influence down on hip-hop. Because right now, hip-hop is, like, growing stronger and stronger and stronger in influence. And it's literally influencing all of America.
That really makes sense,
So
actually.
if they could paint it as a violent criminal...
We can get rid of 2 of the biggest fucking names that are making this movement
I
happen.
mean, they tried to do that with Eminem, too, later.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
that
Is I have
makes-
one of the
yeah,
conspiracies.
I like
There's
that.
there's
I've
no
never heard that
basis
before.
off of that conspiracy, but the closest thing that they've come up with is that literally half of fucking Pac's entourage are off-duty LAPD
Really?
cops. Almost all of them,
What
yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah.
And it's because Suge would hire them on.
I mean, I would chill with ex-cops as bodyguards.
There's so many fucking...
That was huge in the 90s, though, right? Having cops on your payroll,
Yep.
right? And even through the mob scenes, right? It was...
And they just pay them in, and they
Yeah.
would do just about anything. They got a little bit of influence on the inside when that happens. They
Yeah.
know when something's going down. They can misdirect people.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that happen with that. But there's a lot of interviews with some of his police bodyguards or entourage people where they're like, yeah, I'm not a cop anymore because of what happened. Like they were very corrupt cops. Almost all of them got drug charges on them, trafficking charges on them, fucking weapons dealing charges on them. Almost all of them, and a lot of them are private detectives now, for the most part, with a lot of the interviews that I kind of checked out. So that adds to that whole conspiracy of like, well, he was surrounded by these people, so they could easily get that influence within there too. So the dispute between Tupac and Biggie really started with that whole Tupac going to death row and sleeping with Biggie's wife. That was the beginning of like kind of everything for the public's eye that we can kind of do. So while Tupac and Suge Knight were together, he totally adopted him like a father figure. He was calling him the Godfather. Tupac was calling himself the Don, which is, I've already kind of mentioned that they're trying to live that lifestyle, which is clearly a lot of like fucking violence and stuff like that, which always happens. Within a couple months of being in death row, Suge Knight and Tupac assaulted one person. His name was Mark Bell. It's an associate of Puffy Combs. So Puff Daddy.
P. Daddy?
Yeah, P. Diddy,
Yeah.
Puff Daddy, Puffy, whatever you want to fucking call him, Sean
The
Combs.
man with many
The-
aliases.
basically he has tons of them, and he just kept changing them. But like in Bad Boy, he was like the top dog in Bad Boy, essentially. Like he was I don't think he was the owner, but he was like fucking basically CEO.
Is Bad Boy a record label?
Yeah, record label.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one that basically ran. Ja Rule was on Bad Boy at one point. Well, say what you will, like laugh about him. I don't like him either.
Yeah, I
But
know.
he
He
was
was big at one
huge
point.
when he came out. His little fucking that rough voice that he had made tons of money.
Yeah.
Even though he was kind of shit. But that was another situation where somebody was trying to call themselves the next Puck, which is fucking.
Yeah.
Ja Rule was
He
the
just
first
had a
one I
gimmick
remember.
almost.
Yeah, within my head, like the first one I remember hearing saying, "I'm the next Pac." Ja Rule was the first one I can think of. Not saying it's true, just saying that that's what I remember was Ja
Yeah.
being like, "I'm the next Pac," and everybody shat on him like fucking crazy about it. But yeah, so this associate Mark Bell of Puffy got assaulted by Tupac and his crew, and that just fucking added more onto it. Like Mark Bell, I believe, was a very big associate to Puffy. And Tupac and his crew assaulting him and getting sent to jail over it was another really big part of this beef kind of happening. So during this time, Tupac became very isolated while he was in death row. He just did fucking music. He was in the fucking studio. If he wasn't in the studio, he was fucking partying it up with all the people there. So like
He came up with a lot of music in a short period of time.
yes,
Like, it
actually,
was-
they say within 2 months of being in death row, he recorded 67 tracks.
That's Jesus.
That is insane. He
that's
would-
more than a track a day.
Were they
Well, he
good
would build up.
tracks?
Yeah, well, you're still listening to him today.
Oh yeah.
When
They're
they get
still
released?
releasing them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's still new shit being
Oh,
released
fuck.
by him, eh?
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's constantly like, and that's also going to bring into another one of the
I wonder
things
who's
of
making
like,
that money.
well, that's what I'm about to
Yeah.
talk about. Okay, so 67 tracks in 2 months because he literally isolated himself. This is all I'm fucking doing. This is it. The music,
Obsessed.
studio. That's all he would do. Him and Dre would just sit in there coming up with beats. After that was done, he'd fucking lay the track down. He'd fuck off and let everybody else kind of mix it together. And yeah, it was like crazy. And the people in like I've seen videos of them in the studio where he's just like surrounded by 20 people while he's just like spitting some rhymes out, get back
I
out.
think
and
I've
hang
seen
out.
those, too.
It's fucking insane. So after Tupac got socked six times is what I figured it was, but it might be 5. The rumors were flying around that he didn't pull Big didn't pull the trigger, but he definitely like put the chess pieces in place for it to happen. He kept building it up in his head to the point that Biggie was responsible, regardless of what actually happened, like regardless of whatever the truth is. And again, this is one of those truths we're never ever going to fucking get.
Yeah.
So that's built up in his head. Okay, this is pretty big. Right now, East Coast, West Coast is probably on its highest heat point that it's been in a long fucking time because it had been kind of going back and forth quite a bit. All right, so let's pause for a real quick second, talk about the Vegas murder specifically. What happened in Vegas with Tupac? So, after Mike Tyson's boxing match at the MGM Grand Casino, somebody told Pac that there was a Crip lurking around the front looking for Tupac. There is some footage of where Tupac's bodyguard, who was a friend of his, was told to tell Pac that this guy stole a death row necklace, probably like a $40,000 necklace that was stolen, and it was a Crip doing it. The bodyguard said it because Suge Knight was the one that told him to say it. Suge Knight's on his payroll, and this is what he says in his interview that he had. He also wrote a book too, all about this. So he told Tupac, not thinking much of it, but this is kind of like the beginning parts of it landing in.
Yeah.
However, this never happened. There's no reason for Suge to ever have said this, and he says, like, I was with them the whole time that this apparently happened. There's no way that this happened.
What, the necklace never got stolen?
Never got stolen.
Okay.
And that was the thing. So this guy was lurking around the MGM. So Tupac, without hesitation, went towards the crypt and started beating the fuck out of him, like just lacing into him. Like you can literally watch footage of the fight because it's on security cams all over the fucking place. Like it's easy to watch.
This was the famous fight he had before he got
Just
shot.
before he got shot, he's like fucking like full on putting his knee up to his head and stomping this guy on the ground. Like he's fucking kicking his ass. And this Suge also throws in a couple kicks, and this is what put Suge in jail. It's nothing.
throwing the kicks?
Was throwing the kicks because he was on probation.
Oh, okay.
So him throwing those kicks, they said was defensive kicks is what he was trying to go off of. Which
Defensive kicks.
Well, he's
to
on the
man
ground.
on the ground.
So
Wrecking
that's
the
what he
crib.
would say, right? So again, stupid. I get that, but that's what he claimed. And either way, he ended up going to jail for 9 years. I think it was 9 or 10 years because of it, and that's what brought him in there. So they beat the shit out of him. A lot of Tupac's associated helped with the beating. And one small note, Tupac had a right-hand man. I fucking wish I could remember his name. I looked it up. I could not fucking find it. But I remember seeing an interview a long time ago where he's like, I'm Pac's guy. Like, almost every hip-hop artist had a real fucking street thug. Like, knows the situations, knows what you should be involved in, what you should stay away from. And in this fucking interview, he's like, I was friends with Pac. We were like best friends. I would always be at his side. I wasn't in Vegas, and if I were there, I would have told him, you just need to back away from this shit. Back away from the shit. I'll deal with it. I'll go out there and deal with it. But he was the circumstances that led him not being there. It was something to do with Suge, and that's also information I couldn't fucking find for the life of me now. Was not being there. So Pac fucking took it into his own hands and started dealing with it. So 2 hours later, after this fight, Tupac would be mortally wounded and brought to the hospital, leading up to the moment Tupac was owed about $10 million from Death Row. So Death Row had not paid him anything. Like, he's getting zero royalties, which is actually a fairly big problem within the music industry.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, where the owners of the record label, especially like low ends, like whether you like it, won't pay out the royalties. And whether you like it or you don't, Death Row was a fucking mediocre company. They knew how to come out with great music, but it was just a company that literally went from 0 to 10 in fucking a day.
Yeah.
So they have no idea how to fucking run a label.
Yeah.
So in that sense, all the money that he's spending it as quick as it's coming in. I'm talking about Suge right now. So he doesn't have money to fucking pay Pac right now. Another note on this is that Pac literally had over 1,000 songs that were recorded.
That's nuts.
Yeah. But like all of his lyrics recorded. Not released, just sitting there on the shelf.
So you didn't need them anymore.
Millions and millions and millions of dollars. Pac...
Yeah, imagine if he died and you release those.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Pac owed $10 million.
Oh, yeah.
Was owed $10 million, had all this money, or had all this fucking... Well, we'll say money sitting on the shelf having these fucking tracks.
Yeah, basically.
It's basically just money waiting to get paid to you. Had all this in there, was threatening to walk if he didn't get paid. And it was getting to the point that he wasn't... Like, he didn't have money to give him this $10 million, so he was just kind of like, okay, well, what the fuck do I do? And he has everything to lose, losing Pac right now.
Yeah.
$10 million because he'll get sued. Pac had already... There's already records...
record label there.
Yeah. And Pac has already... Street cred, too. Pac had already seen a lawyer about getting out of Death Row. Also seen a lawyer about suing him for the $10 million. And when he left, he was going to take all that unreleased material with him. Yeah. We are talking millions upon millions of dollars. Suge had everything to lose in this situation.
So when was this picture? Remember that really famous picture
of them in the SUV?
Tupac and Biggie, yeah.
Oh, Tupac and Biggie. Which one was Biggie?
Oh no,
you're talking about him and Suge in the...
Yeah, sorry, yeah, it was Tupac and Suge.
In the car?
Yeah, the last picture ever taken of them.
Okay, that would have been them leaving the MGN, yeah, because they didn't get much further than a block away from the MGM where he got shot. Yeah. So that was just moments before it happened.
He got shot roughly 2 hours after the fight, you said?
Let me just check my... 2 hours later, Tupac would be mortally wounded, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it was about 2 hours later. So but again...
The picture was sometime in that...
Yeah, within that area, yeah. So this is just as they were leaving. So he got owed all this money. He was about to leave, just to kind of reiterate on that. A lot of people believe the murders were a work within Death Row Records. And to the point that Snoop had a beef with Suge Knight too, because at one point Snoop was like asked in an interview, "Who do you think killed Pac?" And he's like, "The motherfucker that was sitting in the same car with him." And that's literally what
I've heard that too. Like Suge, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and to the point that and Suge was in jail at this point, right? But was threatening the fuck out of Snoop Dogg. He's like, "I'm going to kill you." Like, he was doing this, and it's not public, nobody knows for sure, but apparently this is what was been happening. To the point that if you went to Death Row Records webpage, at that they had a dog getting shot on the fucking on the cover of it and getting killed. Wow. Like, he was, they got really fucking tense. And I believe it was Suge's cousin that was running the Death Row label while he was in there, so he was just kind of the middleman in between. So Suge would really run it, but through him. So yeah, there was that happened. Suge is being outed by a lot of the people that were at Death Row Records, saying that it was him. So it was very convenient that this happened leading up to the shooting outside the hotel, with all these things happening, and it was definitely favoring Suge Knight that Tupac would die. So Tupac's death means that Suge Knight would no longer have to pay the $10 million. He also remains to retain the rights of all that music that's in there because it's not willed to anybody. Tupac thought he was going to live forever. He didn't. He actually said he was going to die by being shot. But, like, you know what I mean?
How old was he when he died?
I think he was 27, 26. I think he just missed the 27 club. Like, he wasn't quite 27 yet. Okay. So he's able to keep all those tracks, all that music material, which is going to be worth millions of dollars, which clearly has meant that is where, like, we still get Tupac albums that are new and are hitting literally top 10 charts on billboards, like within the top 10.
20 years later.
Yeah, like, it's fucking insane that all this shit still... like 25, I think, right now.
That's crazy.
So pretty close to that. That's fucking insane. So another thing that to be noted, like the amount that he had, his last year on death row, they apparently recorded well over 1,000 tracks in 1 year. Like, he just kept, like, spitting lyrics and spitting every time something came to his head. Like, when I say this was his life, this is all he did, this is his life, and this is all he did.
I mean, you can't expect all of them to be great.
No, but all of them were at least usable.
Yeah, like, and you can put them as bonus, whatever.
I think at this time, like, if anything, like you said, right, like, it gets released now. There's so many tracks now that are even just adopting some of the choruses or some of the hooks or some of the, into their music. Like, the amount of money he's worth now is...
Put yourself in the music industry and these songs...
making that money, though?
Well, right now, anything that was under the death... At this point, death row. So I do believe that the money... Yeah, I don't think he is now. I think he's kind of lost. He makes money off the stuff that was released within death row now.
Okay.
I believe the title went to... I can't remember. I don't think Jada Smith got it. They were dating. Jada Smith was dating Tupac, so I don't think she ended up getting anything. But he wasn't dating anybody past her, and I'm not sure if they broke up before he died or it was after. I can't fucking remember. But somebody owns the rights to this, and I'm pretty sure it's just Tupac's family, like his mom. I'm pretty sure. Same thing that happened with Big, right? But yeah, the one thing that you can do is put yourself in the mind of like the music industry. Just because he wrote 120 bars on one song doesn't mean you need to use 120 bars on a song. You can fucking take a Method Man song, throw 10 bars on a Method Man song, and that's a new Tupac song. Yeah. So, like, there's a lot of material that can be used here. Yeah. Like, within that. And a lot of those artists will listen to, like, 10 bars and be like, oh, that's fucking fat. I can use that. I can make a whole song off of this. A sample. And then they just kind of go through and put it on. Like, they make a song based around those, like, 10 bars that he had. Lots of money to be had with this. Like, fucking lots. Yeah. So that's like his death. Like that's what we 100% know before the death. The shooting happened. It was shot in such a way that, and this is the fucking weirdest part. Like, this is what like gets people like pointing their eyes at Suge Knight. Is it got shot from behind, so it wasn't like this way shooting. Like, say if this is the car, they're not shooting through the passenger side window. They're shooting through the back. That was only hitting Pac, and it was kind of like this way through the back. So, like, it was kind of angled away. The target was
Pac and only Pac.
If you look at the picture, Pac was in the passenger.
Yeah, and Suge was right beside him.
Yeah, wasn't Suge driving?
Suge was driving at the time.
So maybe someone was in the back who shot.
No, these things, it could be coincidence. That's just how it happened.
It's the magic bullet.
Magic bullet.
Shot JFK.
Okay, so that is what happened there. But the thing that's pointing the eyes at Suge Knight is Suge Knight, almost within a week or a week and a half, released an interview talking about how he was in the car. A bullet grazed his neck and cut his neck real bad, and a whole bunch of blood came flying out, and he got shot in the back of the head, but the bullet didn't do anything to him. However, if they were to remove the bullet, it would kill him. Like, he would end up dying from getting the bullet out. So he's got a bullet in the back of his head. All of this 100% untrue. Never happened.
There would definitely be a hospital record.
Yeah, they've checked the hospital records. The cut that he's talking about is glass. It came from a glass flying through from the back window. Hit him in the back of the neck. A piece of glass gave him a cut on his neck. From the back window, yeah, because they were firing through.
Actually, so he wasn't in the back seat.
No. He was in the passenger. It was driver and passenger.
But whoever shot
was shooting through this way. No, not in the car. No, it came from outside. So that glass hit his neck and cut him. So that's knowing they had to pull glass out. That's what cut that. And the thing about him getting shot in the back of the head never fucking happened. Why would he say that? What personal gain does he have out of that other than being like, oh, I got hit too? Yeah. They were trying to kill me too, which made everybody point their eyes at him to a degree. As soon as they found out that was fake, it took a while for people to find out that never actually
Wasn't
happened.
the whole thing weird because wasn't there no autopsy released from Pac for the
There
longest
for
time?
a long time,
Like,
yeah, but it did get released. Like, he died by gunshot wound.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that
Well,
was
that's
really-
for sure, right? Yeah, for sure.
There's not much to get out of the autopsy,
But it was
you
just
know,
weird that it was,
that it didn't come out.
just
Yeah,
conspiracy there.
yeah.
so.
It's no, but
Well,
that's true.
sometimes the family doesn't want it out.
Yeah, that's the thing right there. Sometimes the family doesn't want pictures
Fair enough.
released, don't want, like, and then because a lot of autopsy pictures end up getting out.
Yeah,
You
there's
can,
a
if you
web-
search up fucking Chris Farley, you can find his death photos and his autopsy photos.
Oh, I've seen the autopsy photos from Tupac actually.
yeah, you did.
Oh,
I know that
okay.
they're out. Yeah, like
Oh,
I've seen
okay.
like you can see the cut up as.
Yeah.
That
I
makes
still, I
sense.
haven't seen the like. I've just seen the afterwards where it's all stitched back up and stuff, and people are like, "Oh, that doesn't look like Pac." I saw it. It looks like Pac.
Yeah, it's definitely Pac.
Yeah, it looks like him. That's another conspiracy, though.
Yeah,
that we
I
can
know,
get
that's
into
a whole-
towards the
yeah,
end.
that's-
But,
Oh man, people think he's alive in like Brooklyn.
yeah, I
And
know.
all his songs are
There
piecing
has been
together,
like
and they-
people that bring up this stuff though has had some really cool fucking videos of these guys
Yeah.
that sound exactly like Pac and
Yeah,
look exactly
look
like
like
Pac and rap like Pac.
I
Like
mean,
I'll give them
there's-
that. Like
Yeah.
but it's not hard to
That's
imitate
not
somebody.
evidence.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not hard to imitate somebody.
So it's
Especially
like
when
10,000 people that look like Elvis, you know?
Especially
Yeah,
when
exactly.
there's thousands of hours of him rapping and speaking, like you can obviously pick up his mannerisms.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
studied him.
Okay, so I can't go much further past this without hitting the other elephant in the room here.
MK Ultra.
Actually, 9/11.
Shit.
9/11.
How?
MK 9/11 is the murder of Biggie. People don't really know how this kind of got related and like how he got shot in this. And the conspiracy goes, if you follow the conspiracy of Suge Knight was the one that killed Pac for the money, it in his best interest would have Biggie die as well, because now the eyes are no longer on death row, because at this point
And they
people
were
staring
both,
at them.
and both labels at this point too, like to really hype it up, were calling each other out. You
Oh,
know what
yeah.
I mean? Like there
Yeah.
was like, one was talking about Hit 'Em Up, right? Where he was literally dissing his entire crew and everything and fucked his mom and, you know, let you sleep on my couch. And then you got Biggie coming out with a song going back to Cali and Who Shot Ya? You know what I mean? Like after he was taunting him after the 5 shots that were shot, and, you know, like there was a
Jesus.
lot built up on
built up on
both
this.
sides. Both of them were like, again, the pinnacle East West Coast, Crip versus Blood, and they're releasing songs that are calling each other's crews out and calling each other out. And now Biggie's traveling over to California.
Yeah, he's in LA right
and
now
he's
at this point.
taunting Tupac.
Well, I don't know.
Tupac.
I don't think he's taunting, because like after
Who shot ya?
there was
Come on.
No.
That's as taunting as it gets.
I get that those things did happen, and but I think at this point, Tupac's death set a ripple throughout the music industry, especially the hip hop industry.
Yeah.
Of like things are starting to get a little bit too real,
Too
Yeah.
hectic.
yeah, too hectic. Actually, you know what? Even before I talk about Biggie's death, another thing that happened, like I said, a lot of the LAPD were on payroll within death row. At this time, it also set off a fucking gang war in Compton between Crips and Bloods.
Yeah.
Where I think the total number was 27 deaths within 2 weeks, based off of Tupac's death, where they were just like firing at each other.
Like hip hop beefs get real.
Yeah, which is fucked up, because like none of these people had much tie-ins with each other, other than the fact that my fucking.
But also,
my,
the early
my-
90s was that weird time where it's like if you literally were wearing a baby blue bandana and you were on my turf, you know what I mean? Or you crossed this line.
This happened everywhere.
Fire on, right?
Shit
Yeah, it
happened
was-
here too. If you
yeah.
wore red here, you were part of
It was the
Indian
same
Posse.
deal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there was
that
things
was
like
IP
that.
was
Or
murdering
Deuce,
a
yeah.
bunch of people.
Deuce
too,
was the other one where you wore black and red, and like there was like these things that like you couldn't wear certain things in the city.
Yeah.
And this happened.
And
all
now
over the
you're
place.
like where you said, like one of their role models, right? Or one of their heroes, or their
has been taken down.
Has been dead.
Yeah, he is now dead. So, going now a little bit forward, 7 months, and that's something we have to keep in mind here. This is literally only 7 months from one death to the next.
Yeah.
Biggie is who we're going to kind of talk about. So a lot of people believe that Biggie's death was due to the circumstances within Pac dying, being blamed for it, and then like it's a retaliation murder. It was convenient for him to die to take the heat off of death row. That's another thing that's always on mention here, is like him dying takes that heat off of Suge Knight. And death row, and laid this up to being
that's
just
true.
like an East Coast West Coast beef is what it turned it into by killing him. So, and there is some interviews where Biggie was scared to die, not because of beef but because of circumstance. Like he needs to die, and that's how he feels, like in a couple interviews that he talks about. Today I'm mostly like focusing on Tupac's death, but there is some stuff I'm going to talk about Biggie's death in here too. But this is going to help finish up the story. But in the meantime, let's kind of like talk a little bit more about like Suge Knight. We kind of talked about Suge Knight being in the hospital, doing those type of things with his neck, and like what he was like, these lies that he clearly went out on. And again, he's about a week and a half out of going into jail for the next 9 years of his life. So we talked about the 20 shootings that happened after in Compton, like literally over. Sorry, it wasn't even 2 weeks. It was 10 days. 10 days, 20 shootings. That's fucking insane. That amount.
Like Chicago now.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and the other thing is that there, like the Crips, there was no evidence saying that they were associated with Bad Boy either. That's the other fucked up part. Is like Bad Boy didn't really have any association with gang. Like it just kind of got grouped in. Like the people basically grouped them in regardless because they were the Warren gang. So they're like, well, if the East Coast West Coast is fucking beefing, well, I guess Crips or East, you know,
it's
West,
crazy
like,
how influential music was at that time, eh?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
it
fucking
was nuts.
insane.
Like it really was a whole movement, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking insane, right? Yeah. So it's been said but not proven that these retaliations were gang warfare because of the retaliation of Tupac's death. So the man that Tupac fought in Vegas, Orlando Anderson, the night before Tupac informed several people that death row, the whole chain thing that happened. Well, you know what? I think I kind of repeated myself here. I'm sorry about that. So Biggie got interviewed like very quickly afterwards, right? And this is a fairly famous interview. We've talked about this at the beginning of before I think we started saying that like, hey, this interview's like super fucking.
This is on one of his songs, isn't it?
I think
it's
it
like
got
an intro to one of his songs.
I think it got introed into something, but I don't know if
Could
that
have just
was
been spliced into one of Tupac's songs after he died, which I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. And like why
I was more shocked than anything. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't more shocked.
Okay, so this here is the interview. Sorry, it turned on right away by the Bluetooth. This is Pocky. Sorry, this is Biggie's. This is Biggie's rebuttal when he was asked about Tupac's death.
I was more shocked than anything. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't more shocked of him dying. I was more shocked of him. Pac is a strong dude, yo. I know Duke, you know what I'm saying? Right. He's real strong. So when they was like, he got shot, I was just more like, again? You know what I'm saying? He always getting shot or shot at. He gonna pull through this one again, make a few records about it, and it's gonna be over, you know what I'm saying? But when he died, I was just like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? It kind of took me by. I mean, even though we was going through our drama, I would never wish death on nobody, you know what I'm saying? Because ain't no coming back from that. So it kind of turned me down a little bit. But at the same time, you know, you got to move on. You know, I felt for his moms, for his family or whatever, but, you know, things got to move on, you know?
Okay, so that interview was 1 week before Biggie was killed. Literally 1 week before. And he's talking about, like, not necessarily, like, I honestly feel...
so much later.
Yeah, it was like 6 months later.
Oh,
like, it
okay.
wasn't like a week later. It was actually quite a bit later. It was just before he died. So him, like, you can hear in his voice that, like, he cares. Like at least I feel that way when I hear it. Like,
they were friends.
They were friends at one point, regardless of what was happening at the time. He didn't want him dead. So I truly, honestly believe that interview. Like, I feel like it is something that that kind of gets overlooked. A lot of people think, like, oh, he did this stuff. Like, if you're not looking at the basis, like, in the backgrounds of things. Like, it was clearly him. Well, look at some of his interviews.
Sounds genuine. It sounds,
Yeah, he legitimately sounds sad about it. And, like, the thing that get me the most is him talking about his mom. The reason why I say that is because Biggie is like the one thing that the thing that means the most to him is his mom. So like him talking about Tupac's mom is like he's literally like opening up at this point, and that's kind of how I feel about that. And like you could see if you watch the interview, I believe Puffy's right beside him, kind of like shaking his head, like this fucking sucks that this shit happened, and like you can literally see this type of stuff happening within their own Bad Boy group. Like hey, it didn't just send ripples on the West Coast side; it sent ripples on the East Coast side too of the death. So he got he got very defensive where was I versus what Suge Knight would say. So he got defensive over what Suge Knight basically put up as an excuse, saying, "Oh, this is the West Coast beef. This is them that did it." And he got super defensive, and that was kind of like the rebuttal for it. The head investigator in Biggie's death followed some leads that led him to the LA Police Department, and he was part of the police at this point as well. So when he started looking into the LAPD, being like, hey, wait, like Biggie's death seems to be something to do with the LAPD, and he started looking into it, he instantly got fired pretty much right away. And that's not just, and that's why you can say this may not be a conspiracy, because if you do that in any police station, a lot of the times you get shunned out because you're looking into your brothers, and stuff like that. So you kind of get taken away. So he got taken out, and he still believes to this day that the LAPD had something to do with Biggie's death, like and like orchestrated through Biggie, or orchestrated through them to Biggie, because they also had people on payroll as well, right? So Biggie died on March 9th, 1997, 6 months after Tupac died. It was well-orchestrated murder, where not the thug head jobs were well-planned, but well-timed and well-aimed. And like when they actually did their shooting on Biggie, it seemed very like articulate. Like they made sure that every shot hit where it was supposed to hit. And
that he was dead.
And that he was dead, essentially. Like it was very fast. So there was a very uncredible witness, the bookie, and this is the person that I was talking about, that when they say he's uncredible, is he's got a lot to lose in the situation. And a lot of the stuff he talked about was like, hey, there was a hit out, and it was Suge Knight that put the hit out on Biggie. He said that he had three meetings with Suge Knight. However, he's had 12 meetings in total, but only 3 of them Suge Knight was there. And he said he didn't know who Suge Knight was because it's not his business. As the bookie kind of person that he is, doesn't care. It's just the money type of thing. And he never really done a hit out on somebody before. It's always like gambling debts and stuff. So he got involved with this and ended up getting arrested for some sort of embezzlement thing. Had nothing to do with this. But before all this happened, he was like, oh yeah, this happened. Like this was all fucking Suge Knight. Suge Knight did this, and he was the one that set all this up. He paid me money to hire this hitman to do this thing, and I did it. This was after he was in jail. Now, the reason why I'm bringing him up and saying I feel like he's a little bit more credible than people give him is that in the jail interview with him, he sat down with his lawyer, and his lawyer's like, you can say everything that you said there. At this point, it doesn't matter because you're not trying to get a plea bargain. You're not trying to get anything out of this. You're just talking. He said, okay, but like this is going to incriminate me. He's like, well, you're in here for this time anyway. It's not going to change anything. You can talk. So he said that he had these meetings with Suge Knight, a total of 12 meetings, and 3 of them was involved with Suge Knight. And Suge Knight was the one that, like, when they're like, okay, this is how much money it's going to be, and you could see Suge Knight kind of like shake his hand, being like, yeah, that's good. That's what we're going to do. Like he didn't use words, didn't really speak to him, but Suge Knight was kind of like the orchestrator within everything, and paid him the money to hire a guy. From what I can tell, there's a few things that I can kind of talk about with that guy that I think I might know the name and alias of the person just through interviews, and it's been brought up, but it's never been put back into like the investigation side of things. But
Who do you think it is?
I'll be getting into that very soon.
Okay.
So. Okay, he basically says this, saying the weapons that were involved and the weapons that he say were involved were actually the same weapons that were in there. I don't have the name of them right now. But at the time of Biggie's death, the FBI were following Biggie and Sean Puffy Combs constantly, okay? Because of all the stuff that's been happening. FBI, I think it's in public record, you can check this up. But they were following him and checking everything that they did. Didn't matter what it was. They were always on their ass. And they always talked about this too. It's like, we're always being followed. These people are here, these people are here, these people are here. Always, 100% of the time. Except for that one moment where he got shot.
Whoa.
Every other moment there was fucking FBI and video surveillance on them constantly, and you can check this stuff out. It exists. Except for that one fucking moment. Now, Biggie had a bodyguard, kind of the same sense that, like I talked about that guy that was with Tupac that kind of like was a street thug sort of deal, like would inform him, being like, hey, maybe don't do this, maybe do this. Well, Biggie had one too. Really decent dude, actually. Like, they had an interview with him, and he was just a nice guy, just lives in a shit neighborhood. And they were talking, I can't remember the guy's name that was interviewing him, but they were like, hey, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the death on this. I want to try and get as much information as he can. So he pulls out of his bag mugshots of every possible person that it could maybe be. And he sets them down on the table, and within 10 seconds, not even, like, it was just as soon as he looked down at the paper, he's like, that guy.
Whoa.
And he was like, I've never seen this picture before. The cops never showed me a picture with this guy in it. Not once.
Whoa.
I've seen every other fucking person on this piece of paper, but that guy was never there, and that's him. And he talks about a conversation that he had after the death where Puffy gave him a call and said, yeah, this fucking Islamic guy it fucking shot Biggie. And this was like, shit, for real? When we were driving away, this Islamic guy came up asking a bunch of weird questions and I had to shoot him away. And they literally described each other, the fucking look of this guy, to a T. Like wearing a bow tie, a gray suit, a white shirt. Everything about him was like right on the fucking dot. So they kind of like that aspect of the cops not showing this one mugshot to him and him finally getting to see it and like pointed him out within a second really kind of leads to that kind of thought. And the bookie being like this person. Yeah, he said that he hired a Nation of Islam guy. Now
I was just thinking Nation of Islam. They've been involved in a lot of shit like that.
Yeah, right?
Crazy.
So his name is Harry Billows is how he goes by here. His name is Harry Billows. But that's his alias. His actual name is Amir Muhammad. Is his actual name. So they've tried to question him. He's fucking disappeared. He does not fucking exist. But there's no records of death. There's no records of anything. He is just fucking gone. As soon as this happened, he disappeared. So a lot of people believe that because the bodyguard's saying, hey, this must be the guy. I've seen him. This is the guy that I fucking questioned me and drilled me just before they took off. And Puffy saying that I was there, I saw the motherfucker that shot him. That's what he looked like. And he's like, yeah, that's the fucking guy who questioned me, like, before it happened, because the bodyguard wasn't in the truck. He always kind of follows behind. So these two things leading up to this, and the guy had the name of, like, his real name and his alias in there. So Amir Muhammad is the person that, from my personal opinion, I think, like, from all the interviews and stuff that I've seen, I think this guy might actually be the person that shot Biggie. Now, that doesn't say he's, like, he wanted to do it for no reason. He did it for money. Like,
do you think he was hired by Suge?
That's what I'm trying to get into here. So, out of everything that you've kind of heard here, like, I know this is kind of, like, a little spotty and all over the place, but understand, the information on here is so hard to get, because either they're lying about it, saying they don't know anything, or you kind of like piece together as much truth as you kind of can. And this is the best I have been able to get on this. It's so fucking hard.
There's a lot of info on it.
3 days of me sifting through garbage and bullshit trying to find what I think is the most credible stuff I could find, and this is it. I ask you, what do you think happened? What's your personal opinion on it? I'll give you mine as soon as I've heard what you guys think. We'll start with you, Dwight.
I think, honestly, listening to that, it makes the most sense to me that it stemmed from Suge Knight. Like, to me, it's but like, I mean, if partially, maybe it could have been some of the LAPD trying to give some kind of plea bargain, maybe with Suge or something, like, because maybe it was trying. Like, I think at the end of the day, all the interest aside, it looks like most of it's pointing towards Suge Knight, and it makes the most sense to me that, you know, if he's this much in debt and, you know, he's owed all this money and he has no money to pay it, and
he's got somebody threatening him to
threatening him, like, it just seems to me that it makes the most sense that, hearing all the facts that you have said, I'm gonna pin it on Suge if I was to guess.
I would say that Amir guy, he's could be a hired gun. I don't necessarily buy the police aspect, because overall they profit off of jailing people because of private prisons and everything. I don't think they would go out of their way to try and stop something like this. They might, who knows? But yeah, I would say Suge Knight looks guilty in this. Again, I don't think he would do it himself. I think maybe he's
a smart man. Yeah. Suge Knight is a very intelligent
and he had a lot of power at that time, too.
And he's also been caught in very sketchy shit. I believe recently he ran over several people, and now he's in jail for it.
He's a very sketchy guy just to begin with, right? No, it's hard to trust anything he says.
And even if you're hiring people to kill someone, like, if you're still looking at the top of the mob, you know, like, you almost have to still pin the blame on the leader, right? On the ringleader, right?
It's always
so,
I mean,
right? Suge just is that ringleader, right?
And I mean, Nation of Islam is a legit group. They're scary people. You could easily hire someone from them.
And that was like the first thing they talked about as soon, like Puffy said, Nation of Islam was one of the first things that he came out as, some Nation of Islam fucker that did this. And the other guy's like, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. And Harry Bellows was the name that they both said. And it wasn't until these mugshots came out that they're like, his actual name is Amir Muhammad. So
Crazy.
yeah, kind of is there.
Yeah.
So you think Suge Knight?
I think
you
Suge.
think Suge Knight? You think LA wasn't involved?
I think LA.
so.
I think they were involved.
Okay, so myself, I am 98% positive Suge Knight had everything to do with both murders. I've honestly think that he used the influence that he had with the LAPD being on their payroll to find somebody that would be able to take care of this stuff. The precision, the way that the shots were made for Tupac were just too exact and too on point for that to happen. Same thing with Biggie. Too on point, too precise. They hired the right fucking people to do these type of things. The bookie, again, not the most credible person, also said that there are some sort of LAPD people that were there during some of these interviews. So they're, again, not credible. So I didn't really want to bring that point up. So I do think that Suge used his influence on LAPD to hire people to kill Tupac in a very precise way that Suge doesn't die, and Suge has enough money to be able to hire somebody to do that right at this point. And then later, to cover his tracks and get the heat off of himself, hired this Nation of Islam guy again through the LAPD, because this guy was on the LAPD's radar already. It threw him to kill Biggie. Same sort of deal. Very precise, very precision. Tie up some loose fucking ends.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah. So that's my
Makes
opinion.
sense.
I honestly think Suge went through LAPD to take care of this, and that's also part of the reason why he's never been pinned on anything, because so many people from the LAPD are involved. So if they're involved, they're not going to want any words of anything getting anywhere.
Whoa.
So this is a conspiracy that I
Whoa.
honestly and truly believe is what people think it is.
Well done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank
Well done. That was awesome.
Well, that was the Tupac Biggie conspiracy, the best that I could possibly do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's very hard to kind of get through all that because there's a lot of fucking weird information and shit that I had to sift through. But I'm glad I was able to finally kind of get through some of that stuff. And it was a murder that I didn't know much about, and I was kind of trying to learn as I was going. So it was a lot of what I could figure out for the most part. It was just my best guess through interviews and stuff. This is what I think. So I feel confident about my decision. I honestly think it's Amir Muhammad that was the one that killed Biggie. I don't know who killed Tupac, but I do think the LAPD was involved.
Whoa.
All right.
Okay, well, I think that wraps up the first part of this conspiracy episode. So the Tupac Biggie put to rest.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
put to
awesome.
rest.
Well done.
Solved.
Well done. Solved.
Solved. Done. Period. Not much of a... This was more of a heavier episode. Not so funny, I think, right? Between what we talked about at the beginning to this.
awesome.
I think mine might get a little heavy too.
Yeah, and which, by the way, on our next episode, we have Aaron talking about... What are we talking about?
The infamous Ruby Ridge and Waco siege.
Oh, wicked.
And
Cool.
9/11.
Always
9/11.
9/11.
Because today is the 2nd. If we're going to add 9 to 2...
It's 11.
It's 11.
Holy shit.
9/11.
Well, if you didn't know, this is Why the Fuck Not, where three friends sit around one table and bring a topic of discussion for your listening pleasure. Fuck, it was a good one today, guys. I really
Awesome.
enjoyed it. Lots
Awesome
of fun.
job. Awesome job.
I enjoyed doing all the research for this. This was fucking
So good.
great. So when we shoot out here, I'm going to end us off with just a little blurb from Tupac talking about how he writes music, because I think it's one of my favorite fucking things.
Sick.
We'll finish that sucker off, and that'll be the end of the episode. But either way, I'm Ed,
I'm Dwight.
And I'm Aaron.
and we'll see you next time.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Shit, we only got 2 weeks to do this whole album. Complete it. Mix it down and everything. We don't have time or the luxury to spend all of this time doing one song. We don't have it. We gotta somehow find a way that we can double up on it. Cause I did my whole album, I know it ain't all of that, but I did my whole album 3 songs a day. Cause I was just laying it, rocking it, then getting off. You can mix it later and have niggas that love being in the studio all night, just adding a drum beat at a time and shit. You can do that after the rappers leave and shit. There's niggas that love being in the studio that just love listening for the right kick. But for while we in here and you got 8 rappers here and everybody drinking and smoking and shit, man, get that beat popping. Throw them niggas on the track. You catch everybody freestyling. Throw them niggas on the track. Boom. That's just the name of the song is whatever this nigga said his last word was. We do it, put it down. Then after we finish, we walk out. Everybody be here and listen to you. This the hook. We go in there and lay the hook. If we don't like that hook, the nigga lay another hook. Come back out here, raise scratches or whatever. That be the song.